Major Nesta on a set of softs. Meanwhile, for Four Fish right now, as he makes his way through turn number 8, we're going to see what that indicative lap is by the end of it. And for those who are watching, you may already be noticing just how twitchy that car is now. He's got to try and force it to rotate through the corners, even more so than the soft on the medium. The front engine front wheel drive naturally wanting to understeer because all the work is done by the front tyres in terms of both putting the power down and also the cornering. So you can imagine that if you get it wrong, then it's going to be the case that the car will understeer off the circuit. With just over 3 minutes to go here, we continue to watch Four Fish. We want to see what his time looks like come at the end of this warm-up lap, because it may not be his indicative pace. He may be doing a little bit of sandbagging, which some drivers do choose to do. Some of they hide their true natural pace, or you may even pull into the pits here having got an idea for how strong his pace is going to be. But as he comes out of the final corners then to cross the line, he's staying on there, and let's see what this time is. I suspect he'll probably be a high 38. And it is 2.3 seconds down Major Nesta's 37.7. So if we do a quick bit of maths there, that is going to be what is a 1 minute 40.0. Now I reckon Four Fish can probably get himself into the high 39 straight away. But that is the delta in that tyre compound. Being on that hard versus Major Nesta on the soft, over 2 seconds. Already been demonstrated there, and Four Fish has got to find a way to bring himself up through the field on that hard compound. Now, one thing you might be thinking of immediately as well is what if everybody around me battles, particularly the guys up at front. If they battle a lot, then they'll take the pace off of one another naturally, and that is something which he'll be hoping to happen. Whereas for Major Nesta, by comparison, of course, he'll want just to simply be able to get up the field as quickly as possible, use the soft to gain places fast, and get away with things. Major Nesta's target will be to be up in that top 5 within the opening 3 to 4 laps. If he's not there, then he's at risk of being swamped by the Shockos later in the race. 2 minutes till quali. I believe it's 2 minutes until we get underway with the race there. I think Dave might have just made a very slight mistake. I see all those drivers continue to push around here. And we're just checking in with race control to see if we are hearing anything else. Nothing so far. No other information. So everybody just getting set now. Under 2 minutes to go. As you see Sir Birds is there clarifying, until the race you mean, I think Traumatic Dave, they're just on a little bit of autopilot, probably using the auto tech feature of the PlayStation to say 2 minutes until he meant race, but he selected qualify. As we see Four Fish just parked up right now, just waiting patiently to get underway. Indeed, a lot of our drivers staying in the pits, such as the Skyler here, Decast, and also Gino, these guys starting more towards the front. I definitely say right now, folks, if you are tuning in and you haven't got liquid refreshment, do so very quickly. You've probably got less than a minute to go now before the race starts. As I take a quick sip of water so that way I don't completely lose my voice after 1 or 2 minutes of the racing. I see Major Nesta coming down to turn 4 right now. And really, the big questions will be on Major Nesta. What can he achieve? As the same will be for Martin. And D10 Piper making his way through turn 12 right now. And remembering that D10 will be on that medium tyre, and we look forward to seeing how he can make it last. Indeed, it was the soft that just gave way a little bit towards the end of race number 1, and on the medium now, he should be able to match Martin a little bit more closely, simply because of the fact the medium will last longer. But Martin on that medium as well, he will have the durability in the tyre, as we see D10 Piper parking up and Dominator meanwhile making his way through turn number 1 once again. Traumatic Dave there responded to say he's just checking that people are reading, being very smart and clever there, corrected his mistake. Or was it a mistake? He's just testing us all. But any moment now, we're about to kick off with race number 2. We'll get the countdown very shortly, and let's see what's going to happen. I say, keep your eyes on Major Nesta. He's my bet. I reckon he'll be right up towards the front come the end of the race. He's my favourite pick to be on that podium. And Les as well. We know Les very fast and he'll be starting up towards the front. As the countdown begins, race number 2 is about to commence. 20 minutes. Who's going to be our winner? Let's find out. As we pan down to the grid then, once again on the front row, it's D-Cast. Alongside him is Dominator, behind Cerbertus and Describer. But watch out for Les in P5, and also, as we said previously, a Major Nesta in P11. Let's get the race underway. It's lights out and away we go, and all of our front runners put it away immediately. Let's get a very quick start off the line there, and he's already up into the P4 as he charges down towards turn 1 here. He's got past Cerbertus. Cerbertus trying to come back at him. He can't find a way through Cerbertus. Les up to P4 behind Gino, and Cerbertus battling, as we can see that already Major Nesta gaining places, but there's a little bit of contact there as they come through turn 2. Major Nesta up into P8, Gino in P6 right now, battling with T50 Phil. Phil trying to find his way through here, and behind I think we had briefly a free wide moment through turn 3, but as they all make their way up towards turn 1, it's Dominator leading ahead of D-Cast, and then behind it's Les in P3. Cerbertus battling with the Skyra as they come through the left-hander. He drifts through the corner, and we can see everybody understeering a little bit. Fourfish battling away with both Phil and D10 Piper. Fourfish holding on to P9 right now, behind Martin Jal on 9, as Dominator's had a mistake. He's had him off out of 4, and at the front there we can see Major Nesta up into P6, as Fourfish up into P8, going up the inside of Martin, who understeers wide at turn 6, and then behind these guys we can see that Phil charging into the inside there of Martin through turn 8. Martin's going the inside into 9, however, and behind them you've got GJM, who's able to hold off both D10 Piper and Traumatic Dave, who are trying to cut their way through, and they can't find a way round right now. Instead are opting to battle one another as they come into turn 10. It's Traumatic Dave on the inside, D10 Piper on the outside. He's going to go all the way round. Traumatic Dave doesn't get the best of runs, and he's going to be forced to the outside into turn 11. He backs out of it, but meanwhile up front we see Dominator and Les. Les up into P2 behind D-Cast. Has dropped down the order somewhat. I think there's been a mistake from the Ferrari driver, as we can see. Pardon me, he's got Cerbertus all over the back of him right now. The Toyota driver will be screaming at D-Cast to get a move on so he can be towed along. He'll be looking very vulnerable, but right now in the battle for the lead as they complete lap number 1. It is Dominator, only a tenth ahead as Les as they cross the line. The battle continues into turn 1. Les is going to try and go all the way around the outside, but the Porsche is going to have the brakes into the corner, so he holds up for the time being. D-Cast in P3, Cerbertus in P4, battling with the Skyver is in P5. Major Nesta tries to get the cut back over the curb of turn 2 for P6. Right now he's going round the outside of the Skyver. He's going to the toe, but he's also picked up a penalty for cutting the corner a little bit. They're side by side in a drag race down towards turn 4. Here we see D-Cast versus Cerbertus as well. Cerbertus is going to try and go all the way round. D-Cast holds the inside here, and as a result Cerbertus can't find a way through as Major Nesta gets cut around the outside by the Skyver, giving the Ferrari driver space, but they continue on as we see it's literally 2 by 2, hurrah hurrah, as they make their way up through turn number 6. D-Cast turns in, but he finds a face full of Cerbertus there, and as a result he's now knocked wide, and Major Nesta up into P4 as D-Cast has to try and get the car back under control, and he drops down to P5, and there has been a change in the race lead. Les is up into the lead at turn 4. We should point out, ladies and gentlemen, we'll try and catch that back in a minute, but we see that Major Nesta right now is really on a charge as we see Ghost a little bit there with the penalties picked up. D-Cast is all over the back of him, and the Skyver still trying to find his way through here, and he just can't find a way through it. It's GJM in P7 and Gino behind in P8. Behind them we've got Fourfish in P9, and Fourfish really having to try and make those hard tyres work so long as D10 Piper goes on the move at the inside into 12, and he went for it and he's got it, but Martin Jalanai is going to benefit by seeing the two Shocos go wide, and as a result he gains 2 for 1 special as they make their way now down towards the timing line once again, and Martin will have the run initially, but the Shocos come on strong as they go up through the gears here. Can Martin do anything to hold off? He's going to have to go very defensive into 1 if he wants to hold on to those positions he gained as they come up into the corner here. We see that Cerbertus battling, but we focus on the barrels 4 wide into turn 1 as the camera pans around here. You can see that Traumatic Dave is able to get through, but Martin holds off D10 Piper as they make their way round 3 to the end of the centre S's, and down towards 4 they go. Les still leading, however, ahead of Dominator, and behind there you can see that Major Nesta in P3. He's got Cerbertus over the back, and that was what you saw at the head of the camera shot as they all go into turn 4, and it's the case that D-Cast not able to find a way through it, and Cerbertus is getting phenomenal runs out of these medium speed apexes, but he just can't get the acceleration out the corner to get alongside Major Nesta and stay there. As you see behind right now we've got a freeway battle into turn 6, and GJM goes all the way around the outside of D-Cast as they make their way up into 8. Will D-Cast come back in? He does indeed, but there's a little bit of contact. He wasn't able to get alongside, and I think GJM has been knocked wide, but he's able to stabilise the car, but Major Nesta has lost the place to Cerbertus with the battle into turn 8, so Cerbertus has gained the place, and it means that Major Nesta's going to have to wait a little bit before trying to chase after that podium. But you can see that GJM right now doing everything he can to hold on to that position, as we know that Fourfish in P9 on the attack. He's attacking Gino here as they come out of 10 through 11 up into 12, and he'll be on the inside into the braking zone for 12. He's not able to get as Martin looks inside there. Martin getting a little bit squirrely, being caught out by the early braking of Fourfish, as we see Gino has gone wide, and he drops all the way down the order to P12. In fact, he's battling with Phil here, and I think he's going to drop all the way down to the last place as they go around onto lap number 3. And meanwhile, we look back up front, we see Les in the lead, and he's now 6 tenths clear. He's starting to pull away from Dominator, who just needs to stay there to pick up a strong result. Meanwhile, Major Nesta and Cerbertus battling into one, and it's a repeat of what we saw last time, except Nesta is now on the attack, Cerbertus on the defense, and Cerbertus doing everything he can to hold on to that podium right now and deprive the guys behind from getting through. As we see, he has a poor run out of the center S. Major Nesta's got the acceleration here, but he's going to be on the inside. It's Bertus. Major Nesta's going to go all the way around as he squeezes Cerbertus as tight as he can to the apex, but he has to open the corner up a little bit. As we see, he goes through here, and I'm not sure what the procedure is with regards to ghosting through people to pass, but as a result, he does gain the position for that time being, but I think he may be required to give that one back, as we see that GJM is through as well. So as a result, GJM capitalised on Cerbertus being caught out with a ghosted car there, and Cerbertus has lost 2 places in one corner and one sequence, as we see the battle rages on as they make their way now into 9. But Cerbertus getting a 1.5 second penalty for track limits, and he goes sideways now. I think he'll be absolutely screaming right now with regards to how on earth that happened, as we see Nesta being attacked by GJM as they come through turn number 10, and behind we see that Traumatic Dave looking for the move of D10 Piper in the battle for P9, but not able to find it for the time being, and see Martin at the head of this column in the battle for P8 and down, as D-Cast is just a little bit up the road and is being reeled in very gradually. They come through turn number 12 once again for the full time of asking, and it is the case that Martin has to do everything he can to hold off the Scirocco army with a Ferrari right at the back of it. But meanwhile up front, we can see that Les is still being attacked here by Dominator on the medium versus the soft of Dominator, and you can see the soft tire giving Dominator the advantage over the course of each lap for the time being, but Les doing everything he can, I'm sure, to protect those tyres for later, as Major Nesta is being hounded by GJM, and behind Cerbertus being attacked by Describe not able to find the place this time round, and so they head around again to complete the center S's and make their way down towards turn number 4. But right now we can see Major Nesta under increasing pressure. GJM looking to the inside here. It's a move on the inside for GJM into 4, and I think he's got it done unless Nesta can find a cut back here, but he's not able to, as GJM blocks the door for the cut back. But he does get a lot of acceleration out of the corner, does Nesta. In fact, he's getting a really good run here, and the American is coming back. He's going to be on the outside for 6. He's going to be brave on the brakes and try and send it all the way around, but he doesn't, and GJM is up into P3. Now in Nesta's position, you do have to think, I'm on the soft, but those softs are going to wear off. Do I come back at him? As we see that GJM, well, to give you an idea, GJM is on the soft as well. If I was in Nesta's shoes, I would just wait for GJM's tyres to go off at the end of the race. I wouldn't attack anymore. I'd run away rather than let Cerbertus get into the fight here, because the last thing we want is this to turn to a 4-way fight for P3, when it could end up being a 4-way fight for the lead between Les Dominator, GJM and Nesta himself. But you can see they are spacing out on top 6 right now. Meanwhile, by comparison, the battle for P7, it is D10 Piper at least, found a way past D-Cars, and Traumatic Dave is now down into P9. He's up to P9 as Martin has lost out places here, and I think it is that power difference with regards to the acceleration out of the corners between the McLaren and the Scirocco. As we see Traumatic Dave gets the worst run of the 2 of them out of turn 12, but now as we head onto the straight to go onto lap number 6, you're going to see this completely flip round once again as Traumatic Dave is all over the back of the McLaren in the Scirocco, and building up that speed is going to come out from the move surely into turn 1. Will he stay behind? No, he looks at the move here, and on the brakes it's going to be a standard run up the inside, but will Martin try and stay there? Dave goes a little bit deep and he knocks Martin wide with it, and that enables Fourfish to get back into the fight in here, as we see Fourfish in P10, and he's now the one all over the back of Traumatic Dave as they make their way down towards turn number 4 once again, and Fourfish right in the middle of things. As we jump on board and look back here, Fourfish is going to look for the move, under braking into turn number 4. He goes for it here on the hard tyre, and he sized up, but he's understeered deep. The hard's not offering him the grip, and Fourfish drops all of those places, and he's back to P12, and Gino now goes to the offense versus Martin here as they go up the hill into turn number 6. The right hand they go, and Gino trying to find a way to cut on the inside of Martin, but he can't find it, and the Ferrari driver must be trying to fix himself right now. How on earth can I cut through these guys. It's just so difficult. They're getting such strong runs out of the corners. As you see Martin trying to squeeze himself up the inside into 9 on Dave, but not able to find him. And meanwhile, back up front, we can see that Les not pulling away enough from Dominator as they go into 12. As they come through the corner here, Dominator all over the back for the time being. But remember that Dominator is on the softer compound versus Les right now, and is trying everything he can to get close. As we see Sir Bertus, by comparison, just gradually being dropped by Major Nesta. 2.2 seconds to the gap right now, and Sir Bertus has got Disciver getting ever closer to the back of him as they make their way onto lap number 7. And will Disciver look for a move here? He's in the slipstream, he's got the overspeed. Will he try and send it up the inside? He's going to be made to go all the way around this Disciver as they head into the break. It's over turn 1. Disciver on the outside, he tries to go round, but Sir Bertus is late on the brakes. The brakes, that tire's very strong, but he goes very deep, and he cuts back to the inside in for turn 2, giving Disciver the space. Just about, there's a little bit of door robbing there, but Disciver just holds on the inside after the center as they complete turn 3, and they're still side by side. It's a drag race now, and the Ferrari will have the acceleration advantage gradually over the distance. Disciver has the inside into turn number 4 here, and I think it's all said and done. That's all she wrote for the time being, as Sir Bertus isn't able to come back immediately, but he will have the momentum from 5 and up into 6. Will he come back or will he wait? He's going to come back for it. He's going to look up the inside into 6 here. Disciver doesn't get the door shut in time. So Bertus right along the side there. And I think Disciver now drops the place back again. And he'll be looking up the inside into 8, but he's not able to find it for the time being. But great battling between these. So Sir Bertus goes a bit deep, and it will continue for the laps ahead, I'm sure. As meanwhile, we see that Les and Dominator still in the same positions they are. Dominator staying there, only 4 tenths off the back of the Mercedes in the Porsche. And we see GJM, he's got a gap of 2.1 seconds over Major Nesta, and GJM is closing on our race leaders gradually. But we look further back down the order, we see G10 Piper's broken away from the second pack, and instead is chasing now after Disciver. He's only 2.2 seconds down on our P6 person, as we know that Decar's still at the head of this lower pack right now, leading from P8 as he goes a bit deep into turn 12, and that might be too much. It's going to cost him massively as he makes his way out of Juncal here and up the hill, and everybody now is going to try and come through. I'm sure you're riding on board with Decals right now, the British driver, as the Ferrari accelerates here. You can see he already knows that everybody's going to have a straight line speed advantage with the mistake he made, and they'll be in the tow. But Martin not closing enough initially here, so Decals being smart about getting off that racing line early and costing the slipstream. But you can see that they're all getting ever closer as they all make their way through turns 1, 2 and 3 once again. And 4 Fish at the back of your camera shot there in P11 now. As we see Traumatic Dave and Phil battling it, and Phil on the hard tyre. Pardon me, much like 4 Fish, it is proving to be very difficult as Martin looking for the move here. Going down into turn 4, he can't find a way past Decals for the time being, and they all stay in place. Although I say that, Phil are looking for a little cheeky move up the inside just to try and psych out Traumatic Dave, but Dave resilient to it. As meanwhile we look up front, and Les still being had of a look. Here is GJM, he's got close enough now. He is only 9 tenths of a second off our race leaders, and this is where GJM wants to be for the time being. As we see Disciver, I think, has got the place of a Sir Bertus, and he's still holding on to it. Was there a little bit of a push into turn 8? No, they weren't battling. They continued their battle once again, then coming through turn 6 and 7, and Disciver dropped the place, but then he went up the inside into turn 8. So Bertus gave him the space there, and as they came out of the corner and went up into turn 9, he had the overrun there, and Sir Bertus tucked back inside. So Disciver back up to P5 for the time being, but he still has that Toyota nipping and tucking behind him. Meanwhile, our race leaders, you can see our top 3 now only separated by 1.1 seconds, and Major Nesta 3 seconds down the road from them as they all head on to lap number 9 here. And you've got to imagine that GJM is salivating at the prospect of a potential win as they make their way through the centre S's once more. And he is well within that tow zone right now of Dominator's car, so he's going to have the straight line speed advantage over the Porsche coming down towards turn 4, and he'll have the slipstream. He has everything right now in his hands, and he will be charging after the Porsche very quickly. I suspect within the next couple of laps we may see an attempt at a move. Meanwhile, further back down the order, we note that the battle is still going on for what is P8 now. We see that Decals has been passed by Martin. Was it into turn 1? Well, Decals had already been passed. I think Decals had another poor run, out of what was at the time Junkao, because he's dropped even further down the order. In fact, he's dropped down to P10, but we can see that Decast's making another mistake coming through turn 4, and Fourfish tries to come through, but Fourfish gets it all skewy there, trying to get round and avoid Decast, who was slow off the corner, and as a result, both drivers there having a difficult one, but Fourfish up the inside of Decast into turn 6 on the hard tyre here, Decast on the soft tyre, and it looks as though Decast just not able to find the pace on that tyre, as we see Fourfish gaining the place of time, and he's up to P10 once again. Can he hold on to it? Will Decast come back in? They make their way for the left-hander at turn 9, heading up to 10 right now, and Fourfish doing everything he needs to do right now in order to hold on to the position, and I think he's got it done. Although Decast's looking up the inside into 10, but he hasn't got enough space to get the power down there, as he wasn't alongside Fourfish, so Fourfish can keep the door shut. He wasn't legally allowed to do that, and as they make their way down towards turn 12 here, you can see Fourfish holding on, as Decast looks for a little cheeky move out the inside. He takes the tight line, but it's only going to cost him speed, as they now make their way up the hill, because he had a tighter apex to turn through, and you can see Decast is now under major pressure here from Traumatic Dave, and also Phil, as they head round to go onto lap number 10, and I think it could be a double move incoming, or at least one move here, and it will be Traumatic Dave. He looks to the inside as they go down into turn number 1, and it's going to be Dave on the inside, Decast on the outside, Ferrari versus Scirocco, and we see the Scirocco getting the move done, and Phil following through here, but he gets boxed in a little bit by Traumatic Dave, so he can't complete the move out of 1, and Decast shutting the door through turn 3. It actually gives the space in here. Phil is still there, and Phil now side by side versus the Ferrari, and again it is a case of Volkswagen versus Ferrari power as they charge down towards turn number 4. Can Decast hold on his on the outside here, and Phil will have the brakes into the corner, but Decast goes defensive. He taps the back a little bit. Traumatic Dave knocking Dave wide. He just understeers off the corner there, and Dave rejoins, and Phil is able to take the 2 places here with a contact as they make their way up the hill, and now Phil trying to battle for P11. He's got ahead for a time in as Dave settles in behind. Meanwhile, up front, I can tell you that our top 3 are now separated by only, once again, it's a second, if that, and GGN just staying off the back of Dominator for the time being on those soft tyres, and having to protect those tyres, of course, with the fact he's in that dirty air of Dominator, and they've only got 3.5 minutes to go here, so GGN has done a lot to protect those tyres, and Dominator on the softs as well. Those softs are looking in very good condition. We know that the Porsche is very kind to its tyres if you can avoid understeering the car, and Dominator doing a very good job, but he has lost the toe of Les on this side, and that means he will now be vulnerable to GJM in the runs down the straight, and we can see GJM immediately getting close here, looking to pounce as they go through turn 1. No change this time. What about Major Nesta? He's 4.2 seconds down, and I think Nesta's just put a bit too much wear in those soft tyres, not able to make the tyres last, so I think it will be a P4 for Major Nesta here with approximately 2 laps to go, and Skyver in P5 has broken clear of Sir Bertus, who's now got D10 Piper getting closer and closer. In fact, D10 Piper is almost there. He's in slipstream range, and he'll be looking for the movement. Meanwhile, we see that in the battle for P2, GJM still there in P3. Meanwhile, we look to D10 Piper. He's getting closer. Sir Bertus goes defensive here, and he squeezes D10 Piper to the outside, as we see D10 Piper breaking early there to avoid clipping the back of Sir Bertus as much as possible. But Bertus gets a poor run through 4, and D10 Piper comes through on the inside into 5. Now, will Sir Bertus try and send it up the inside into 6? I doubt it, because he's too far back to go for the move, or at least a safe move, and as they make their way through 6 and 7, will he look to the inside through 8 as they go into the braking zone here? He cannot find a way through Sir Bertus, so I think this is said and done from detail. Although Sir Bertus comes charging out of the corner there, carrying a huge amount of momentum, and my goodness, Sir Bertus, the last of the late breakers, and doing a phenomenal job as he goes defensive into the hairpin there. We see Martin by comparison in P8 as Gino comes out the corner there in P9 out of turn number 9, and then Fourfish in P10. He's got clear Traumatic Dave, who is still battling with Phil and Decast for P11 right now. And we've got just under 2 minutes to go, and it could all change in the battle for P11 as we see Dave goes a little bit wide into turn 11 there. He almost went on the grass, in fact, going into the corner, and Phil is back up into P11. This battle continues. They'll have one more lap at least as Decast slides into the corner there. He tried to go for the double move, the late lunge, and it almost works for the fact that he just understeered a little bit wide off apex. There was a very good attempt by Decast as they now make their way onto their final lap. But up front, we can expect they've still got 2 more laps to go, and GJM has gained P2. How did it happen, you ask? It was into turn 1, GJM up the inside, and you can see here that Dominator did not have a response as GJM was just able to get on the power on that racing line and cleared Dominator through the corner. So that is the change for P2 right now in the battle for our top 3 positions. But can GJM close down Les on the penultimate or the final lap? They will have one more lap after this one, these 3, as we see Major Nesta in P4 in a no man's land right now. Describer in P5, then we've got Cerbertus in P6, D10 Piper in P7, and then behind these guys we've got Martin in P8, Gino in P9, Fourfish in P10, Traumatic Dave in P11, Traumatic Dave battling for P11 I should say, and he's up the inside of Phil here going through 5, and as they go up into 6, Phil's going to have the inside for both 6 and 7, I think Dave's going to have to let this one go as they make their way through the corner. Indeed he does, he lifts out initially, does he try to come back into 8? I don't think he will, Dave, as he's there, no he will not, he's going to stay behind Phil, and the battle will continue later on the lap. As meanwhile, looking up front, they come around then to complete lap number 12 and go on to the final lap. The white flag will be out for our top 3 right now. As we see, GJM has fallen a little bit away from Les here, but Dominator is still there in P3, chasing after Dominator, keeping Dominator honest as they go on to lap number 13. And I believe as well it will be the case that Major Nesta will get in a 13th lap. But as we're about to call time, it will be Describer who comes across the line, and he just comes across to do one more lap, but Cerbertus will come across the line in P6, but he has to burn the penalty, which means D10 Piper takes P6 in, Cerbertus P7, Martin Jallo 9 burns his penalty to come home in P8, Gino Denver in P9, Fourfish will come across the line in P10, a valiant effort on the hard compound, and in the drag race to the finish line, it will be Traumatic Dave just ahead of Phil for P11, and then D-Cast in P13. But meanwhile, up front, I can tell you that the battle between Dominator and GJM continues, and Dominator, in fact, has made a move. We didn't see on camera, we'll take a look back at that shortly, but he's lost the run up into 6 as GJM goes all the way around the outside, so this has given Les the breathing room to run away to pick up the win. But Dominator battling with GJM, hand over fist, it's hammer and tongs, and trying to get the place back right at the end. Both cars quite heavily worn their tyres, and GJM have done so much work to save those tyres. He's now got the tyres to battle to the finish. But will he be able to? Or will, in the case of Dominator's come back very strong right at the end? They make their way down through turn 11 right now, and I think Dominator, if he gets a good run out of 12, he is going to be safe here, as Les is leading right now. He's 1.3 seconds up the road, and Dominator having a solid run out of 12. It will be a drag race up to the finish line, but I think he's done enough. But talking about people who've done enough, it will be a win in race number 2 for Les as he comes out of the final corner here. He is going to bring it home on the medium tyre to win race number 2 of round 2. A brilliant effort there from Les, and behind, as you can see, he is going to hold on for P2. It will be Dominator in P2, GJM in P3, Major Nesta in P4. A great effort from the American, just missing out on the podium slightly, and then it will be Describer rounding things off in P5. A brilliant job there from the Ferrari driver. Congratulations to all our drivers, but to our race winner, Next Gen Les from the United Kingdom in the Mercedes. Goodness me, ladies and gentlemen, and they said they couldn't do better in race number 2 compared to race number 1. Well, they did, and here are your race results, subject to any stewards' inquiries, of course. Les bringing home the win at 1.4 seconds clear of Next Gen Dominator, and then surrounding off our podium is T50's GJM there, just missing out on that second place, and then Dominator going for the move right at the end and making it work. Major Nesta in P4 and Describer rounding off our top 5 there in P5, 12 seconds of our race winner. And we can see the order there all the way down to last place, and the fastest lap on lap number 6 as set by GJM, that 37.686. So that is round number 2, ladies and gentlemen. What a fantastic round indeed. What a very close set of races, both of them, and indeed up and down the field we saw fantastic battling. The formula is working, and we're only going to carry that momentum forward into round number 3 the same time next week. Be sure to come back at approximately 8 Monday next week for round number 3. We'll keep it quiet about which track we're going to next. We'll surprise you with that when we come back to the stream next time round. But thank you very much for tuning in, and if you have enjoyed this, be sure to let me know and let the Next Gen Racing crew know at their Facebook page or their official website, which is nextgenracing.com, or go onto Facebook and look for the Next Gen Racing group. But until next time, ladies and gentlemen, it's goodbye from me, your host, Paul, TX141 Walsh, or Britain Spit, as I'm also known. And remember to stay safe, stay well, stay smiling, but most importantly, remember to stay on track. Good night.